Hello, race fans, and welcome back to ProKart Indoor Arena in Burnsville, Minnesota. My name is Adam Nordquist, and today we're recording without the pristine audio that you might be used to on most Formula B broadcasts. I have forgotten my microphone, but that is exactly what we're about here. The race today is slated to be an endurance race, either of 60 or 100 or anywhere in between that amount of laps. Something that we've seen over the course of the season the last couple of weeks, but also something that might get harder this time. Also, semi-obviously, since this is the last race of the season, we'll be able to see a lot of differences in the ways that people are driving. If they are out of contention today, they'll be driving for fourth, for fifth. If they are in the lead and chasing podium spots, you're going to be seeing a lot more aggressive driving. I'm personally looking forward to it, and we'll see you out there on the track. As always, have fun.
Welcome back, racing enthusiasts. We're getting a little bit of an explanation here about the standings, about how this race is going to work, about everything that's going to be happening. We are going to be seeing a lot of these racers have a lot of stake in this race today. We'll talk about those racers once they get off and going. We like the ownership of this place. They're real friendly to us. We're real friendly to them. Obviously, we pay them to start the league, but it's been really fun to be able to do this here in week 10. A little bit of a tempo of reflection as we move over. Get a little bit of zoom in on our camera crew right there. Should be all good there. A little bit of a close up on the bar there, and here come our racers. That is Tyler right out the gate in that 4 kart. He will be the first one out of the gate there. Next out looks to be Norm, if I'm getting that right. He's always got that good one. We'll do a couple of warm-up laps here as we kind of wait for the camera to catch up. That appears to be Abraham, if I'm not getting anything wrong. All 3 of those back-end racers having really good days. There's Daniel, Crazy Monkey, sitting right there out in the 8. Again, these races today going to be happening. Kevin out in the 10. Always something to do, always very interesting. Again, Kevin's been a really solid racer. He's just sitting in the middle of the standings a lot of the time. Him and Daniel like to hang out. And the camera right now is catching probably... Well, who is that? I don't know exactly who that is. I'll figure that out. Right behind him is Eric, though. That's what I do know. That's in the 11th kart. Eric coming out in style here. He's sitting in 3rd, a really close 3rd. He's going to have to defend it. And there is Weeds, the racer of this tournament, the dominant force in a lot of these races, drifting through that corner almost effortlessly. Going to happen to it. And right behind him is Rod Bob, sitting at 215 there in that 1 kart, 215 points. In the standings. As a little bit of an overtake there again as we take these warm-ups laps. And that is your racers. The first racer in looks to be the 3 kart there. Or at least there's the one already. There we go. So, Ty way up front. Abe in the 3. This will be an 80-lap endurance race. So that's Sean there in the green. Norm in 6. Then right behind him, Daniel, Kevin, Eric, Rod, Bob, and Weeds. And again, you're going to have to watch these 3 racers as we make all the podium decisions today. Those guys are fighting for it. Weeds out all the way out front at 230 points. Rod, Bob with 215. And Eric with 198, the green flag goes up, and the first racers cross the line. So this will be 80 laps of largely excitement, or hopefully it'll be exciting as we kind of step off here in this kind of mega journey. You've seen an endurance race before. Ty will be the first cross that finish line. Ty all the way out in front. Again, he's there in that 4 kart, and then Kevin and Daniel making a run for it, and then already a pack forming here the way all the back. With Sean and Eric all the way out there at the back end. towards the middle, Norman John. Again, Norm really loves to lead these little pelotons, and he loves to create the traffic that gets caused and causes problems for everybody else. You can see Rod Bob kind of digging at him towards the back here, going to do a little bit of a bump draft. And obviously these corners are a little tricky, but that's kind of the only difficult corner in this course. We end up with a lot of this difficulty, and as they're fighting, Kevin has taken over the lead here. There in that 10 cart, and he is going to have a really nice line to work with. Again, all the way out in front, Ty right behind him, and then right, like we're saying there, Norm just feeding off the back end. I'm going to watch those front two as the rest of the peloton comes around. Again, Norm fighting for it. Right behind him, Rod Bob Weeds. And that's just, I mean, it's a great time right there. And then that's Daniel right behind Weeds there. Norm heading it up. And obviously everybody trying to get through, but nobody's trying to take it real seriously or that fast right now. We're not that far into this race. Rod Bob is currently the challenger and could, in theory, like if everything else goes to plan, he could be the guy that hits close to first at least. Again, he's 15 points behind, so the standings are kind of set in stone. But it'll be interesting to see. Norm still holding him off. Norm actually has been a great defensive driver this whole season. Same story with Weeds. Everybody, Norm, Rod Bob, Weeds, Daniel, Eric. Everybody's taking that line. Everybody's making it count right in the middle. And again, this is a fight for third here. As you're making it happen on the backside. It's just that group over and over and over and over and over again. A little bit of drifting coming into the corner, just way close in those corners, and it's still those front three that are going to be fighting for it all day. Weed's going to try and make a pass on the inside, going to knock into him, knock into Rod Bob right there. Unfortunately, nothing happened from it, but that is Weeds for you. Gonna make a little bit of a bump draft move. And oh man, that's unfortunate. It is Ty that's gonna be knocking into some walls. He was in second there, so he'll be knocked out to the end of that race, having some trouble getting pulled out of the corner as drivers go around him. And when people go, Norm, again, that's everybody else slowing down. No yellow here. As part of this endurance race, and Ty will start all the way at the back and run to the wall one more time, and then he should be off to going. There's that yellow flag. Just a flag, though, no lights. So a little bit of a warning for everybody else. Don't run into walls is the overarching advice that you get when you race a go-kart. Just a tough break for Ty, really. Now he's right in front of the guy that he was just fighting against. Be difficult to see, and again, as those guys come back around, it'll be Ty, and then he's actually going to be probably lapped here, if you're looking at Kevin for any examples. Again, that peloton not showing any signs of changing. That's Norm all the way out front. Rod Bob Weeds, although Rod Bob has a little bit of an inside line here if he wants it, and he's not going to get it, though. Weeds taking the inside, however, going to do a little bumping, also not going to make anything happen there. It's always interesting to see these guys really try and fight for it, because they do have similar strategies. Unfortunately, a bump on the wall, and a bump on the wall makes it an inside move for Rod Bob, who's going to take that third position and jostle everybody out. Weeds following close behind. Norm a little shaken from that. Some sideways work through those corners, making sure nobody crashes into each other, and now it is Rod Bob all the way in third. Or second, my bad. I apologize. That with the downplay of Ty. There's our first place racer. Kevin just throwing it down on the track right now. And he's not really even in contention. He can fight for third here. He's 1 point behind third, so that's really what he's looking for, is to beat Eric and get on the podium for this season. Right, like we can see right now that he's right up front. He's in that 10 cart. His best time so far, 19.545. Our best lap time, a Weeds 18.97, but it is Marco Rod Bob Weeds all the way at the front here. A little bit of twisty turn right there through the chicane. Again, it's just going to be these two. Same story that it has been the whole time. They're going to be taking tight turns. They're going to be making it work for them. Weeds almost has an inside line here. Going to try and make that pass work, and it does for him. So he's going to have a second place right now. Going to get a little twisty, and Rod Bob just going to try and catch up. And it's unfortunate to see him get knocked out into third here, Rod Bob, just because he is an excellent defensive driver. He's really good on real roads and in the go-kart track. And just it's sometimes those lucky inside passes, especially on a track like this, that really make it work. As we go out to the wide view, you see those guys again. That is Norman Sean battling for it. All the way at the front. They, not all the way at the front. They are in the middle of the road. They are having a good old time at 6th and 7th. Here in, as we approach the 20th lap of this race, that means we're almost a quarter of the way done. And through it all, Weeds in second place, a wider gap between him and the front. And between that is Rod Bob out in third. And again, a pretty sizable gap between him and Weeds opening up. Obviously something to worry about there, and there's a little bit of superstition about those carts. I know he was expressing some maybe worries about the go-kart and worried about kind of which one he would end up driving before the race, and I think he ended up with a pretty fine one. Weeds coming up on Ty now. The gap between Weeds and first, only 3.2 here, 5.5 from Rod Bob to Marco. But still a pretty close 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. That's Marco, Weeds, Rod Bob, Eric, and Crazy Monkey. And again, that's just getting real interesting. Ty, obviously, hitting around on the backside, gonna get past there. A little bit of a lap from our second place racer. Looking on Norman Sean, checking on how they're doing. They're just having a little bit of a fight there for what I believe is 7th here. As Weeds looks like he passed Ty there. Gonna get a little wide shot there. Get into the corner. A little bit of a wider guy right here, and there's your leader. For the time being, Kevin all the way out front. Again, in that 10 kart, just doing some excellent racing. Some great job. Just a fantastic kind of setup. And Weeds just getting closer and closer and closer. That's that final pass that he needs. And just taking those corners super aggressively. Probably shortening the gap there to maybe even a couple seconds. And we'll see that a little bit there. That's 0.7 of a second right there as we look at it. We're 25 laps down. And it is still those two at the front. They're going to be running into Norman Sean here in a little bit. Catch some traffic. For those who appreciate the handiwork of the camera today, in terms of finesse of zooming or general quality, you can thank the commentator booth. I forgot my microphone the day that we did this, so I'm recording from the studio as we can perform the passes of Sean and Norm. I forgot my microphone at home the day we did this, and so I'm recording from the studio. But that meant I was put on camera duty, and our cameraman, our usual guy, had to sit this one out. So a little bit of extra artistic flair on the zooms, on the follows. Let us know what you think about this out in the drops below. But for now, it's still Kevin and Weeds all the way at the finish. We are almost at 30 laps down. There is Daniel in the 8. A little bit of a close shot there. Just a little abnormal. There's Abe hanging out all the way by himself in that 3. He's been paving a little bit of a line for himself. He's just taking good laps, making it happen. Oh, man, there's a little bit of a crash right there. I believe that was Sean that spun Norm. And again, no yellow lights there. But that is Norm that spun out. A little bit of a pile-up happening as we enter our 30th lap here. Just going to have to get Norm unstuck and a little bit of a slow lap for everybody else. No yellows, just everybody stops going. But that actually provides an interesting way to think about the gaps between racers. Now everybody's real close together. Everybody has an excuse to say to each other, hey, here's what we're doing. Everybody's going to line back up. Everybody's going to make it happen, again, with 50 laps to go here. Everybody's going to line back up in the order they were in, effectively reducing the amount of time that they had in gaps. Again, that's going to mean that the Weeds-Kevin gap is going to be shorter, and the gap between Rod, Bob, and Weeds is going to be the important one that you're looking for. Really an unfortunate crash, but one that could actually change the face of the race. So we'll see how fast those lap times are when they come back in. Obviously, the order is the same, and everybody's just going to take a slow lap coming back in. Take a yellow flag. And we'll bring it right back as the green goes up. Some super long laps there. And there is our guy waving the green. Having a great time today. Again, kudos to the ownership of the Procard Indoor Arena in Burnsville. We couldn't do this without them, obviously, because they own the facility. But also they run a quality establishment. All the way out in front, Kevin, Weeds, Rod, Bob, real close together. That's 3, and a little bit of shaking on that cart from Kevin there. A little bit of throwing it back action on the side there. I wonder if we'll see that from future turns. We'll have to look at him. See if he does that again in the chicane. Yeah, and he's, I mean, that didn't happen that time. It looks like he's just going to have to get a little twisty. Just a little more momentum steering with the pedals. Weeds over in second. A narrow turn from Weeds there. A kind of weird line. I don't blame him. He's trying different angles, getting way up close. But again, doing a lot of drifting. Trying to maybe warm up the tires again. But his motive is kind of unclear. Because of that Peloton switch, we now have Sean and Daniel and Eric all hanging out in the same vicinity of each other. A little bit of a Peloton there. Again, some great racing happening on all fronts of the circuit. We've got kind of a 1, 2, 3 and a 4, 5, 6 happening, which is interesting to watch. But not as Weeds looking on the outside. Kevin is going to be looking for it. Going to try it on the corner and going to take it on the inside. So that is Weeds, your new leader. That'll be around in the 35th-ish lap of this race, almost halfway. Which provides me a great excuse to explain exactly what's going to happen at the halfway point. These guys are going to get to 40 laps to go, and they're going to be doing a little bit of a courtesy pit action. They will be performing the same laps until 40. They'll get into the pits. They'll come out of the pits after driving a little bit slowly, and then they will turn around and do the whole thing in reverse. I believe there will be another lineup after that, just to see. And here we are with 40 to go. And as we approach to the halfway point, the best lap time, an 18.77 by Weeds all the way up at the top. 19.1 from Kevin there. A lot of shifting there. I can't exactly see what's going on. And then it's everybody. So this is that pit stop you were all worried about. Or that I was just talking about. They're going to come into the pits right here. We'll follow our guys as they go through. In the same manner. A little slow. Rest the arms. Take it easy. And then they're going to probably end up waiting until everybody comes in. So Ty, all the way out of the back, is going to end up with a little bit of a slow one. He'll probably come into the back and then just continue on going. He won't really get to stop. Everybody else gets a little bit of a courtesy break, rest the arms, engage the core a little bit, and here he comes. All the way. So that's our last racer coming into the pits. That's Ty over there in the 4. Gonna come in, wait for it. He's gonna come in real slow. He's gonna touch the back of the carts, and everybody else is gonna get the go-ahead to go. So now they're gonna flip around in reverse. They're gonna go all the way, and they're gonna warm up the tires one more time. Now they've just done this track forwards. It's a different kind of ball game in reverse. The same corners, obviously, but a different set of a different kind of set of straightaways. Literally, it is the same square footage, same meters, same everything, same measurements of time and length, but it's just more difficult to make some of these turns out there. As we hit this slower line, everybody coming in hot, gonna start out there at the corner, and you get one lap of warming up, it seems like. Hit the yellow here. Seems like somebody's not paying attention to yellow flag rules, but we'll actually be, well, maybe if they're waving, it doesn't matter. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about anymore, but they'll come across here, and we will see our front guys. There we are. We'll hang on the line all the way at the front, not getting a jump off the corner. We're going to start when we hit the finish line. And away we go. The green flag is up for the last 38 laps of this race. And again, just our order at the back here. That's Weeds, Kevin, Rod Bob, Daniel, Eric, Sean, Norm, Abe, Tyler. Some of those guys at the back in 7, 8, 9, again, got in that crash earlier. Or gotten a series of crashes earlier. That are kind of interfering with them. Otherwise, again, save for the accidents, you're in a better position, and all of these guys are relatively close together. However, still a really exciting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, really close together here, and actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pretty much. Since Sean is right there behind them as well. Always interesting to see. Now it is Weeds, Kevin, Rod Bob all the way at the front here. The one behind them is Daniel, and we'll be able to see a little bit of a bump on the back from Rod Bob there. Maybe he's going to be trying to play a little bit more aggressively as it goes on. You know, here at the Formula B radio broadcast booth, we wonder, what if everybody was a color analyst? And by everybody, we mean one guy doing both of the commentaries. I feel like I'm uniquely built for both. I could do a play-by-play and I can do a color analyst, but really I enjoy telling little stories about the racers as it happens. That said, I don't have anything interesting to talk about right now. Again, just a little bit of a fight for the second place spot here. Rod Bob really wants that. He needs those spots, but really, truly, it is Marco that has the most incentive here. Our friend Kevin gonna try and fend off as many people for as long as he can, because as long as he's beating out Eric, gets to move up to third here. And again, Eric sitting in fifth right now. Kind of easy to say right now that it's not a close race, but anything can happen in these endurance races. I spoke a little bit a couple weeks ago when we had this last about kind of why we do it, how we do it, but the amount of mental toll that it takes on you. You get sweaty, you get hot, your arms are tired, your brain gets tired. The flip around is always nice, but again, these are the same carts. You're not even flipping anything. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how these racers, I don't want to say deteriorate because that seems mean, as Rod Bob performs a pass on the inside to take second away from Kevin there. Just an interesting pass from him. And then it will be him and Weeds all the way at the front performing for it, trying to make it work. And Rod Bob will have to take some real tight lines. That gap looks to be about 1.5 seconds, which, again, not insurmountable. People have done worse. People have done better. But again, it's those two that are going to be fighting for it, and obviously Kevin going to be looking for, if nothing else, a podium spot or something that will beat out Eric by exactly 1 point. Weed's getting to the point now where he's about to lap a couple of guys, bumps into the back of Abe's cart, but Rod Bob right on him, taking that pass into traffic with no problems. And just some fantastic racing going on right now. It is real high intensity. Just really good to watch these guys just do their thing over and over and over again. Some say that racing gets mind numbing because of the kind of repetitiveness of it. And they have a point. You know, there's not a lot of criticisms of that, but it's when you know what you're doing, like if you do a little bit of research, if you look at what you're actually looking at, it's really interesting to watch these guys fight over positions and check out times. We have 25 laps to go. It's still Weeds, Rod Bob Marco. The fastest lap time in 18.77. We're 55 laps into this 80-lap race, and it is something else entirely. We're getting a lot of great racing out of these guys. And Weeds and Rod Bob almost coming up on Tyler here. Gonna have to make a little bit of an inside curve here. If he doesn't move out of the way, that'll create a little bit of an opportunity for Rod Bob there. But that gap is pretty wide. It's getting big. Another bout of shaking from Kevin's kart there. One wonders if he's got a wheel that's out of balance or something. You know, you really think about that. We'll look at Norm and Eric fighting for it. And again, Eric sitting in third in the standings. Norm ahead for one of those turns, and just going to be able to make it happen. Around the bend here, Eric pulling away, and again, Eric has a vested interest in, again, also getting on the podium. He wants to keep that third spot, so he just needs Kevin and Daniel to not beat him. Unfortunately, both those guys sitting up top in front of Eric there in the standings. Now work here and watch Weeds just go around these corners, go through the chicane. There's your top three one more time. It's Weeds all the way through. Rod Bob and Kevin. And Rod Bob and Kevin are actually having a pretty good race here. They're closer together. They're having a good time. Little bit of a static camera shot here shows you how far apart these racers are, and it seems really fast, you know, on the straightaways, but these guys are just, you know, they're racing in karts that are designed for open air, and they are go-karts after all. Now, the gap between Weeds and Rod Bob looks to be about 1.5 to 2 seconds. Taking it all the way out. Again, just duking it out for those 1, 2, 3 slots. It's going to be a closer fight for second. Weeds has a storied history of being in first and staying in first. He really specializes in keeping that line and not having to defensively drive. He's not the world's greatest defensive driver, but he has a lot of fun doing it because he's so far ahead. He takes advantageous lines. And when we run into difficulties like this, again, that is Abe trying to turn all the way out of the corner there. Maybe a little bit harsh into the turn, but blocking those second and third place racers, giving them a little bit of a disadvantage heading into the competition for those places. That's Eric and Tyler all the way at the back end. As we follow in, that's, again, Ty at a 19.36 here, and a 2-lap gap between him and anybody else. But Ty and Eric, again, kind of fighting for it. Eric looking to, does pass Abraham there and going to try and pass Ty on the inside. Might have it happen for him here. Does do it, so the 11 kart takes that spot as it is. Again, that's not traffic. That is, I believe he's a lap ahead. And Ty's going to try and take it right back, shut the door on him. Nothing for Eric right there, so he's going to have to do that again. I don't know if he just flipped him off. A little bit of a vulgar exchange right there. Another pass happening right there. And as we focus on our top two, that's Weeds and Rod Bob right close to each other. Only a couple tenths separate them. And we cannot count out Kevin sitting in third. But those front two, having an excellent day, racing very well, managing their fuel, managing their tires. If that was a problem that we had to worry about, that's how you do it. And Daniel putting up good laps. A 2-second gap between 4, 3, 2, 1. All those racers really close together, and everyone else is a lap behind. Weeds and Rob Bob and Kevin taking it all the way through. Again, Daniel also sitting in 4th there. You'll see him sometimes as we come around the chicane. Another bout of shaking for Kevin's cart. I think it's just an unfortunate part of how he's turning. Maybe he's putting the steering wheel way too far into it. Running into traffic here as we see Abraham get past. And these front 4 racers just super close to each other. Way to do it. And that's the way to try doing it. That's Sean and Norm all the way at the back of the pack. They're going to be fighting for just lap times at this point. They have some positions to fight for. Getting warned to check out the traffic as Weeds comes up on Sean there. And that front 3 coming up on Sean, passing him right there. Coming up on Norm. Going to have to touch him in the corner. Which, again, is going to cause a little bit of a disturbance if you want to make those narrow turns. You have to be willing to go all the way out when you catch traffic. And that's Daniel passing Norm, which means the front 4 safely all in the throes of the open field. Nobody in front of Weeds. And it looks like, barring any complications, this might be one of the books. It's a little early to call, but we have 5 laps to go. So, decisions are going to have to get made now on Rod, Bob, and Kevin's end. Again, the gap only 0.81 there. But you have to make up that whole entire second if you want to make this happen. 4 to play. And it'll be Weeds, Rod, Bob, and Kevin, and Daniel. Now, again, Rod Bob's got to make these tight corners. Tighter corners, better lines. But I think he's actually pretty happy with the second place finish. He knows he's going to know what he needs to do. Daniel sitting out there in 4th. If he wants a podium, he's going to have to push for it. Some tighter lines there. That gap getting wider and wider and wider. So the good fight might actually end up just being for second, with Rod, Bob, and Kevin putting it all the way in the back end. Now with 2 to play, that's one lap remaining there with Weeds out of the front. The gap big enough to the point of negligence, almost certain to guarantee a win there. And as he's stood number 1 on the standings for our season, that will be number 1 for this 80-lap endurance race. Followed closely behind. That's Rod Bob coming in right behind him, Kevin right behind him, and Daniel coming up in 4th. Everybody else with 1-ish lap to go. So there are your podium finishers. That'll be Weeds, Rod Bob, Kevin, Daniel, Norm. And as those racers come in, that's Abraham on the side, Eric coming in right behind him, and Tyler bringing up the back. An excellent bout of racing from Formula B. We'll take a 1 victory lap here again, like he's been saying. He's been at number 1 in the standings for the time that we've been doing it. He's going to take 1 around. And a close endurance race. For being 80 laps, the gap at the end there, again, little surprising to see. Obviously, you want it to be close, but you never think that it's going to be that close. I'm going to take that flag all the way around the track, bring 1 to him, and so that will be your league champion for this time around. Formula B, Season 1, or, well, Season 2, but we didn't film the first one, so it's technically Season 1. belongs to Weeds. Out there in the 15 for today, drifting that corner one final time for this season. That's the way to do it. Coming into the pits real slow, cart all the way at the back, and going to get up right as he needs to. Again, it's been quite the season. We've had a lot of fun here at Formula B. Filming these, making these, and absolutely making it count. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed racing and commentating on the back end. The commentating crew for today and the camera crew for today, both Adam Nordquist, our photography crew, is Nick Speaker out on the ground. From every racer, participant, and enthusiast out here at Formula B, we will see you in the next edition. We'll likely have a league race come up at around wintertime, so keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, until next time, I'm Adam Nordquist from Pro Kart Indoor Arena in Burnsville, Minnesota. We'll see you out there on the track.